Instagram will analyze your entire reel with its AI features and it will attach SEO keywords for you. So you have to be very strategic in like what you're showing because it will analyze, and based on like what it thinks you're trying to say, that's the keywords that it'll attach to it. So another quick tip is just keeping in mind watch time.
You're listening to the Shoot Your Shot podcast with Lindsay and Tim.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Shoot Your Shot podcast, the community-driven podcast for photographers just like you. My name is Timothy.
I'm Lindsay.
And today we have a very special guest coming to us from across the world, the nation, the other coast.
Really far and down. Yeah, really far and down.
Angela Shea from Social Templates. Angela, welcome to the show.
Hello. I'm just down here in Southern California.
Oh my gosh.
I know, we were like, maybe we should say where you're actually located. Yes, Southern California. Angela, thanks so much for being here.
I'm so excited for this chat.
So nice to have you.
If you don't already know, Angela is the incredible creator, designer, and genius mind behind Social Templates, which is a done-for-you Instagram service for busy creatives. They give your community the freedom to quickly share their content through ready-to-use real templates. And I'm reading off the website, so I hope that template
from
copy
Instagram
is still correct, but it basically gives people the freedom to create things in a very short amount of time so they can get back to doing the things they love, which is making photos and creating videos for their clients.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that. Yeah. We're going to talk about Angela because Angela was a photographer prior to this, which is why she is so good at making a business that is specific for photographers. But before we do that, Tim, I'm so happy that you have at least one brain cell left for both of us because we are going to shake the magic 8 ball. But Angela, we didn't prepare you with this at all. So I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but also we're going to. We shake up the magic 8 ball. Have you ever used one of these? Are you familiar?
I think back in like grade school.
Okay.
So great. So you ask it a yes or no question and it tells you. Today we're going to give you the honor of asking it a yes or no question. Now it doesn't have to be anything serious, or it can be. The world's your oyster, but we'll give you the floor. You ask the question and Tim will ask our higher power what it thinks.
Okay. Will Instagram ever bring back a photo-only feed?
Photo-only feed from Instagram.
Gosh.
Here we go. The answer is concentrate and ask again. So we'll have to table that one for a little bit.
Honestly, which feels like a very meta answer. Like they're never going to give you a straight answer, yes or no. So that feels right.
Funny you mentioned that because I remember when you said that, I remember that there was a thing that came across my newsfeed about the fact that they're looking to make a Reels only app from Instagram. Is that a thing? Is that rumor mill?
Do you think that will kill Instagram? What are your thoughts on that? Because I think that would kill Instagram as a whole. Like,
I think that video content is not going anywhere.
Right.
So they're going to keep focusing on it. They're going to keep TikTokifying it.
Yeah.
So I think video content will continue to evolve and grow and dominate.
Okay.
I don't know that they'll ever take photos completely away. I feel like that part probably will stay. But we've already seen how like the single post photos just like there's no point to post them because nobody sees them.
If you're posting it, it's literally just so that your feed looks good, so that if anybody ever does just go to your feed, they'll see it. But then what they will see is like 200 likes and one with 12 likes. So that doesn't really look great either.
Yeah. I think we should, for the listener, we're going to put a bunch of Angela approved Instagram social media tips at the end of this episode. So you stick around to the end. Angela's going to shower you with information and ideas on how to be better at social media and serving your clients. But Angela, I think we all want to know what your story is, how you got into this crazy business of creating these amazing templates for photographers. What was your start? I mean, we talked about the fact that you were a photographer, but tell us, what was that like? When did this happen?
All right. So I've actually been around forever. I feel like I've lived multiple lives.
I also feel that way too. I was actually just talking to our friend Liam Good. He was here earlier and I was telling him, like, he knew all about social templates, but he didn't know about you. And I was telling him, about my like obsession with you and how I'm like absolutely in love with you and your family. And he also has young kids and, runs a business and all of that. And I was telling him and I'm like, yeah, she's kind of like the world's most interesting woman.
Yeah.
So you have lived multiple lives. It's actually wild. So, okay, take us back to the early days. What was your first life that you lived?
So actually I was applying to be a dental hygienist back in college. So I was supposed to be in the dentistry world. My parents always wanted me in the medical field. I'm first generation immigrant from Ukraine. I did grow up in the States though. And so all of my parents' dreams of bringing our family here. Like I was supposed to fulfill those. My dad really wanted.
So you were like, I'm going to become a photographer, and they were like, no.
They're like, wait, is that like no? Yeah, they were definitely. I think a little bit just confused. They're like, is this like a phase? Is this a thing? Like,
so was that actually what happened? Was like you were going to go into dental hygienistry? Dental hygiene?
Dentistry, I think.
It's just called dentistry.
Yeah. You were going to go into dentistry. Don't call me a scientist because I'm not one. Oh, we won't. Okay, so you were going to do that, and then what happened? You picked up a camera?
So I had all my prereqs done in college, and I was walking. It was literally like a movie scene. Like, just picture this opening scene. I have all my prereqs done, my application ready to submit. The deadline was that day. I was walking down the hall inside the medical building and on campus, and then something was just like, absolutely not. Like, we are not doing this. I am not going to become a dentist or like go into this medical field at all. Like, everything about this, like, I just... like every cell in my body like hated that idea. Wow. Even though like I felt like I needed to do this for my family. Thankfully I have a younger sister who became a nurse eventually, so my parents got their
they checked off the box. That's good.
But I remember turning around halfway to the dean's office to submit my application and walking to the graphic design visual communications building and being like, I think I should just take a photography elective class. Like, what would that look like?
Amazing.
Never submitted the application. Ended up just changing my entire direction. I took one photography class. I didn't have a camera. I couldn't even afford a camera. And the instructor was just so kind. He lent me his own camera. He's like, hey, you're like the only person in here that can't afford a camera. Why don't you just use mine? Because he was a professional photographer. So gave me a camera with a really nice lens, because I think that's like what really made me realize that like, oh, I can take good pictures, is because he had good gear.
Good gear, yeah.
It wasn't like a kit lens.
That's the thing. When people have the confidence in their work and all they've ever shot on is like a kit lens, I'm like, wow, you must really know that you can do better than this, because I'm not currently seeing it. and you're
So Lindsay does teaching. Yeah. She has one-on-one mentorship.
No, it's so mean. But kit lenses hold people back, because the second that you give them like a 51.8,
yeah,
you get a little bit of bokeh and you're like, oh damn, I have all of this confidence. It's like incredible. I'm just an unbelievable photographer. But kit lenses really hold people back. But I agree. You're probably looking at this being like, you're comparing yours to everybody else in the class who is shooting on like a kit lens. And you're like, oh, you guys are all terrible. You should come check out this nice lens I have.
Angela, what was that photography class like? Because I've never, outside of high school, I've never taken a photography
I've never taken a photography class.
Well, not a class, like a formal education course.
Yeah, I've never taken one.
What was that like the first couple days?
So you're going to be disappointed in my answer, because I learned nothing other than I like photography.
Okay. We've heard that actually quite a bit from other people that have like gotten degrees in photography. They're like, well, I learned that I enjoy it and that I didn't learn anything else useful.
Yeah.
Well, I think I was also like an anomaly, because I didn't understand the technical side of photography for a really long time.
Okay.
Right? I was super creative. I understood how to compose the shot. I knew like how to like push my limits and just get really creative. But the technical side of it, for the longest time, I couldn't figure out what was the difference between aperture and shutter speed. Like, what do they do? And we had all these exercises where you like take the same object and you photograph it like at all the different apertures, and you compare, and like looking at paper, like I wouldn't understand it, but it didn't make sense in my head, if that makes sense. Like I would understand it, but it didn't make sense for me. Okay. I had no idea what ISO did.
You were probably not practicing enough. You were like doing the theory of it, but not actually like in the field doing it.
Right.
It took me a long time too. Numbers are not most photographers' forte.
No, dude.
Well, and I think I just shot on aperture priority for so long.
Right.
Because I started shooting all of my sister's friends who were high school seniors at the time. So I started just like, I had a bunch of girlfriends that were cute, and we just started doing senior portraits, and I was doing all these creative sessions with them. So my photos looked great. I had like a great blog, but I didn't understand any of the technical side. And I thought ISO was just like how you add grain to the photo.
Right.
Nice.
Which you're not wrong.
You want to make that thing really grainy, crank the ISO right up.
Yeah.
You want it no grain, it's down. That's actually what ISO is for. That's what I've heard.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so, you're not really wrong. It is part of it.
Yeah.
It took a while for me to understand the technical side of photography, even after I shot weddings. Actually, a year after I took my first photography class, so I only took that one class. It was literally just one semester or one quarter, whatever it was. But I like these senior girls that I photographed their senior portraits, they started getting married and engaged. Like they were kind of younger brides, those like, early 20s.
Yeah.
And I remember shooting my first wedding, and I have never felt more confident shooting a wedding than my first one ever. Like,
that's amazing.
What's
the thing? Okay, but what's the thing?
Dunning-Kruger effect.
Okay, Tim and I talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect?
I have not.
Okay, so it's this scientific psychological effect that people have where when they start something new, whether it's a skill or a hobby or an idea, their confidence level can be charted, and it's this massive
through the roof,
like hockey stick style eruption on the graph. And then over time, the more they know, the less their confidence is. It just starts to decline, and it's a very steady decline. And then getting back up to that takes so much longer than it does for the initial, like when you started a hobby. So it's this really weird thing where the more you know, the less confident you are in a thing, and the less you feel like you know about a thing.
Which is, I think, why those like reels, it's like a viral thing, that like a meme-ified thing that people have done for like years now, where photographers are like, my average day is a wedding photographer.
Yes.
And it's like you walk into the studio and you're like, I'm feeling really tired, but I'm feeling really confident and excited. And then throughout the day, they like go into the shoot and they're like, I think I just blacked out. That was the worst thing I've ever shot. I can't believe I just did that. They're editing their photos and they're like, this is amazing. They go back an hour later, they're like, this is trash. And I'm terrible at my job, right? Yeah. But as the newer photographer, you walk into it with so much confidence because you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
Like, I think it's like kind of a really lovely place to be in. You probably like crushed it, honestly. Or did you?
Well, no, I think I had a little bit of a rude awakening afterwards where I was like, wait, like looking through my photos.
What am I going to do with these?
I'm like, why is this group photo blurry when you're like shooting at 2.8 or no, I think it was probably like something at 2.0, and I'm like trying to shoot like 16 people and they're all
really close.
Yeah.
They're really close, and you're like, oh, why is the person in the second row not in focus? Interesting.
I think it's like a evolutionarily like positive thing for us as people, like to be good at, like, let's say hunting. You start out, you're like, oh, I'm amazing at this, great, and you just you reward yourself with that dopamine of like, oh,
the
amazing,
audacity.
This is great. Yeah, you have the audacity. So
if it weren't for the audacity, no one would ever try anything new, right? Because we would all self-talk ourselves into, I suck and I'm always gonna suck. And you do need a little bit of the fear to kick in later to get better. Yeah. But prior to the fear, you need the audacity.
Yeah. So all your girlfriends are getting married. You've taken all their senior portraits. They're in the stage of life where they're finding significant others and they're getting married, and you're photographing their weddings. Well, you said you started off really strong.
You started off and you sucked a little bit, or what?
Well, I think even that wedding, the first wedding I delivered, the couple was happy.
Oh,
they were happy with it. There's plenty of photos in there that were like amazing. We had a creative session. It was great.
That's awesome.
And I launched my photography career when I was 19. So I launched my website, my brand. And so that was, I kind of like dove right in. I also took graphic design and visual communications studies like while I was doing that, but I was very much focusing on growing my photography career. Did all the things, traveled all over America, started shooting like destination weddings. It was all very exciting, but I also got married really young. And so I had babies really young. I wanted to always be like a really young, fun mom. That was a goal of mine. And so I was like, I can do it all. I can have this photography business and I can have babies. And
because how old were you? You were really young when you got married, right? Were you 18 or 19?
I was 19.
Yeah. Okay. So this was all happening at the same time. Yeah. Right. And like with the age aside, that's just a lot of things to go through. Even if you're 27 and you were starting a business and getting married and traveling the world, and like the business is doing well, so you're going with it, and like all of those things would be extreme, but you're 19, which maybe was good. You also had the audacity because you were 19.
Yeah, and that was the first time I moved out, so it was just like everything in my life was just so exciting.
Of course.
I moved out, I got married, I started this photography business. I'm like meeting up with all these clients that, heard about me through a blog somewhere, and it was just really fun and exciting.
And you probably are seeing more money than you'd ever seen before, because prior to this, you couldn't afford a camera.
Yeah.
And now you're like fully funding your life. You're like, oh,
Yep.
I might be the richest person on the planet, everybody.
Did you have to give that camera back to your professor, your teacher, or did you keep it?
I did.
Okay.
No, I did. I did give it back to him, and I actually ended up buying a kit lens or a kit camera from Costco.
Nice.
Amazing.
Nice.
This is great.
That's a good
I love
deal.
that.
And that's when I was like, wait, why doesn't my photos look the same like they did with the fancy Nikon that I had?
Of course.
So, I mean, I went into it like literally just not understanding any of the technical side, not understanding the lenses, the gear. I just knew how to be creative. I've always been like a super creative soul. Since I was a child, I've had like an insane imagination, for better or for worse. Like I just, so that was kind of what propelled me, is that the creativity, and that I knew that I could make something beautiful without understanding the technical side, which I feel like a lot of people that are starting out now have like this advantage of there's so much to learn, online, and so many resources and so many workshops.
You could have learned what ISO is on TikTok in like 30 seconds. Somebody would have explained it, because they do. These kids explain things. I say kids, I sound like the oldest person.
Children.
But they are usually
children.
It's usually young people that they had a curiosity, they figured it out, and then they figured out how to explain it to other people that also had that same curiosity in like the fastest way possible. Like when I want to learn things now, I go to social media. Like that's where I'm going to Google now. It's either ChatGPT or it's TikTok.
I think Angela solved the Dunning-Kruger effect, though. I think it sounds like you kept yourself, and this sounds maybe not nice, but you kept yourself willfully ignorant from the things you didn't know, you needed to know necessarily, to extend that Dunning-Kruger effect, so you were able to be more successful, more confident in your work longer than had you been on TikTok to learn what ISO means. Or,
you didn't lose the confidence and
you
be
kept
like,
that
whoa,
wave
whoa, whoa.
riding as long as you possibly could, which is probably the secret to being successful.
It's also the secret of life, because it always happens for young people. I was the same way. I started my business at 22. I had so much confidence until I realized I have no business being this confident. I have no business being this confident.
Yeah.
Oh, and I think that's when it hit me. Like the crash was so bad.
Okay.
And we talked about this earlier with you guys, but I had such an insane burnout moment where I like ran away from photography completely.
Didn't you like sell all your gear? You were literally like, I don't even want to look at this. Like, I'm getting rid of this. I want out.
Not just my gear. I sold my house fully furnished.
Can we talk about what happened? This just seems like
go
wind us back a bit.
So things are good. You're married.
Yeah.
You have a baby.
And I'm traveling, but we also lived in the Pacific Northwest then. And so our wedding season, like locally, was really condensed to like June through September. So you're shooting back to back. And then everything else you'd have to travel for. And then holidays, people would want like mini sessions, and everybody wants their photos before, Thanksgiving, before Christmas, for their Christmas cards. And so I got into this like toxic cycle of, I also didn't edit while the kids would be awake. So my editing hours were from like 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. and I ran on coffee, and
which is like
muffins.
what so many mums do.
It's a
right?
5 to 9 day, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And so I would edit through the night, go to sleep for a few hours. The babies would be up. I'd be, full-time mom. And then it just like was over and over. And then we only had so many like warm summer days for me to get out with the kids. And it just, by the time fall, like holidays would come around, I would be so depressed and sad that I just missed all of summer. I worked through every single weekend I had. It's raining, it's gray again. I mean, you guys can relate the weather.
Yeah, we can.
Sounds like us. Yeah.
Yes, we can relate entirely. Yeah. And like you get a really nice day and you're shooting a wedding. You're like, cool.
Cool. It could be at the beach.
Tomorrow it shall rain, but today I will have the most beautiful summer day and I'm going to be working.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And I think the other thing, with how I felt in relation to my work, it felt like at a point, every single shoot I did, driving home, I would be overthinking everything. Why didn't I get that shot? I should have tried this, could have tried that angle, should have, experimented with that. Then I'd be like uploading my images and like looking through the shoot. I would be so unhappy with everything. I never met my own expectations.
You found the downslope of the Dunning-Kruger.
It was very dramatic.
Yours was a cliff though. You didn't go down gradually. You were just
terminal velocity was reached.
Yeah. You actually took the wingsuit off and you just went for it. Oh no. Absolutely. And I've been there. That's a terrible feeling.
I spiraled, and I think a lot of it had to do with also being like oldest child syndrome, perfectionist and wanting to deliver a certain quality of work and not matching my own expectations. And then also the photographers that I had discovered by then were like Jose Villa and Eric McVeigh, and I wanted my work to look like theirs and feel like theirs. And it was
Which is so great, but you also have to consider, and like I'm sure you didn't in the time, but maybe hopefully you've given you some grace now. What is different about Jose's life? He is not a mom of two, and like a young, like he's not like 20 years old, buying a house, living away from his family, like all of the factors, right? But we do compare ourselves to somebody's peak with help, potentially a nanny, potentially a partner that's taking care of their kids, all of these things to our current, which is you're still figuring it out, right? And you're like, well, why isn't my work the same? Well, your life isn't the same, so your work is never going to be the same.
Also took me a minute to realize they were all shooting film. So if that tells you.
And it also probably, like, this is the other thing, and I don't know if you caught on to this. I mean, you were living in a beautiful area, but whenever I am really hard on myself, I have to remind myself that, like,
what's their backyard look like, right?
We don't live in Southern California.
No.
I don't live in the Pacific Northwest. My backyard is, like, quite nice, but it's, like, flat. It's completely flat. There is not an ocean. Our lakes are actually unswimmable. So
8 months of stick season here.
Yeah, I shouldn't say our lakes are unswimmable. The ones in this city
the ones
are.
in this part of the area,
yes. But, it's hard to compare your work to somebody else's when you don't realize why it is that you're obsessed with it. Well, they're spending $1,200 a day on editing and developing film.
Yeah. So I think, it was pretty toxic mentally. I got pretty depressed. I also had my second baby by then. And so I think I was also dealing with a lot of postpartum depression that I wasn't aware of. Also trying to navigate like all of my emotions that were like, I also couldn't separate myself from my work. So I identified, like I found my identity, I guess, like in how I felt about my work.
Yeah.
And so I think at that point I started experiencing like just severe paralyzing anxiety where it would just like I would literally just freeze up and like panic attacks for the first time ever in my life. So it got to be very unhealthy mentally, and I just felt like I really needed like a big change. And I think my husband and I, we both kind of knew that, but like we weren't taking any action. And so over one dinner conversation,
action, you were probably like, what more action can I possibly do? Because action is happening for me every day, right? Like when you're in the weeds, the action, it does need to be like a sudden shift, because it's not like a gradual, like, well, you know what, on top of my busy schedule, running a business, being a mother to two, trying to keep the train on the tracks and be a good wife and doing all the oldest daughter things, which is it's very poignant. You're like, maybe I should also try like some therapy. I'm going to go to the doctor and ask them about medication. No, you're like, I'm going to burn this thing to the ground.
Where's the match? Yeah.
Should we sell this house fully furnished? Okay, so what's the conversation like that spurs this conversation to go and uproot your life and change everything?
So we always wanted to, I feel like my husband, he just like is along for the ride. He's like, I married you for the adventure, kind of.
I love that. We love Vlad. Hi, Vlad. He's like, I'm not watching this.
So he's always kind of very like excited to just be like, okay, this sounds fun. Like,
let's do it.
I don't know. Like I'm very convincing in a way of like, it'll be an adventure. It'll be fun.
So you are the captain of the ship. That's interesting. I feel like I feel like you guys are both, from what I know of you, just on a personal level, you guys both seem like very confident, independent people, and you're really like great. And
I feel like there's like different aspects of our life where like he leads, he takes charge, but then also he loves my adventurous spirit in whatever capacity. It could be just the weekend with the kids. It could be like our entire life. Because we also, before photography, we also lived in India for a few months. And like we've like done crazy things before where it was like, anyways, I don't want to get into that. It's irrelevant at this point, but
it doesn't sound super relevant, but you know,
topical.
Okay. We'll move on. I digress.
Yeah. So this was like we always wanted to do a season of our life on the beach. So we were like, let's go to Hawaii. It'll feel grounding. It'll like give me a moment to reset, to like separate myself from photography. Our original plan was actually to move to Hawaii for a quote unquote season. So it was going to be like 1.5 to 2 years somewhere. But
and what was Vlad doing for work at this time that he could just be like, yeah, you're right, let's go?
So he couldn't, but he is a licensed electrician by trade.
Okay.
And so he needed to get licensed in a different state, which is when he applied for a license in Hawaii. And it was taking too long because everyone's on Hawaii time and I was on Angela time. You know, we gotta get
yesterday.
Yes. Yeah. You're like, so I said I wanted to spend a season at the beach. And it's May and it's going to be June soon.
Yeah.
So he applied for a license in California as backup. But literally that one dinner conversation, that same, like, let's just do something. Let's move to the beach. Kind of like, let's sell our house and see what happens. And that same week, we listed our house for sale. That same week, fully furnished. I remember a real estate agent was like, you guys realize like nobody does that. We've never sold a house fully furnished. And I was like, just trust me on this. I was like, just list it this way and see what happens. Like I had so much confidence.
That's so funny. I love it.
And he was like mind boggled. He's like, wait, they just bought your house fully furnished
with all your stuff in it?
Like curtains and like everything.
It's just a house done.
Yeah.
It's honestly really quite sustainable. I mean, not for you. You now have to go and buy new things for everything. But like, I've often thought like somebody already purchased all the furniture for this house. And then when Angela and Vlad move out of it, their furniture is not going to fit in the next place that they
Absolutely
buy.
Not. It's not going to match the style of the room or the.
So this furniture is already good. You know, keep it.
Yeah. And you just moonwalk onto the plane. You have to carry anything. It's perfect.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you just have like a couple of suitcases and babies, and you're like, let's go, I guess.
Yep. So we sold the house that week, closed on it in 30 days. So give us 30 days to like pack up the rest of our life, let our family know, because both of our family lived like in that same city. They were like, what is happening right now?
Oh my
Are you guys okay? And they were the first grandbabies.
And you were like, we are not at all. But we will be when we're at the beach.
Come visit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I shut down my website that same week as well. Like you couldn't find me anywhere online. Literally sold off most of my gear. I kept a camera because I still second shot for a while, and I still had to fly back and finish all the
jobs that you did have. Right.
So I did come back, but we left to Southern California. We never even saw the apartment we were moving into. We were just like packed up a U-Haul, drove down. We knew it was a new build, so we're like, how bad could it be?
Right. Of course.
But yeah, and then I took a year-long sabbatical. I mean, I still, finished off work, but it wasn't like actively trying to book things. We bought annual passes to Disneyland and went to Disneyland every Tuesday for a year.
Wow.
That's amazing.
I was like, I'm going to make up for every weekend I ever missed.
That is the best.
Was it the healing process you needed? Was it the thing you searched for?
Well, I never knew that whether or not I was going to go back to photography or not. Like I didn't know what. Like I lead with my heart, like in everything that I do in my life. Like I just lead with my heart and my gut, and I'm not a very logical person. So I didn't have a game plan. It wasn't like we're going to do this thing and then I'm going to have this sort of outcome or these results. I just moved to the beach, spent a lot of time at the beach.
This is amazing.
And then I was like, maybe I'll go back and do photography in different capacity. Maybe I'll do branding sessions. Maybe I'll start booking different weddings. But we also were only going to do a season in Southern California. So 2 years max. We're on year 9 and we're not leaving. Wow. So we love it here. This has been the best thing ever.
I've been I go on 3-day trips to California all the time. I haven't been in a little bit. Well, I don't know, a couple months, I guess. But every time I go, I'm like, so looking at real estate.
Can we just stay here?
I guess we'll just stay. And that's I do a 5-day trip. So if I was there for 2 years, 2 years would easily turn into a lifetime for sure. You'd be like, you know what, Mom and Dad, I think it would be better you come here than me go back home at this point.
Yeah. I mean, it's a 2-hour flight. We've been making it work.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Family comes over often, and we fly back and forth. So, but at that time, my photographer friends started reaching out and being like, "So, what are you doing these days? Like, what happened? Where are you?" Because I've been already shooting for close to a decade at that point.
Right.
By the time all of this unfolded. And so I was like, well, I'm just over here trying to, live my life, eat, pray, love my way through California. And they started asking me to help with their social media because I was no longer competition.
Right.
And
they knew that you had previously killed it with social media on your own channels.
Instagram was so different. This was like 2016, 17.
Okay.
The perfectly curated grid is at its peak.
Yes.
And
everybody's doing yellow. Oh, your whole feed's yellow and now your whole feed's red for some reason. That makes total sense to me.
Well, and it was like that portfolio style of like how we submitted images back in the day to Style and Be Pretty, right?
Yes.
And how you curated your content for your own blog.
What was the lights one that I used to submit to all the time?
Two
bright
lights.
lights.
Yeah.
That's how I got featured. I got a ton of stuff featured through Two Bright Lights. Honestly, they were the GOAT. Like they were so good. So for anybody who's maybe newer, just never came across it, Two Bright Lights was this like submission thing back in the day when like getting featured on a magazine was like the pinnacle of like you've made it. Like Jose,
when it meant something.
Yes, when it truly meant something. And now like it's crazy. Within a year, it went from being like, oh, you were featured in Vogue to now like, oh, you were featured in Vogue. Like now it's a red light or a red flag. But Two Bright Lights is this place where you could like submit your work. You submit all of the vendors and everybody involved. And one day they would just send you a message being like, hey, like these 4 publications are interested. One of them is exclusive. 3 of them are not. Do you want to give it to them? Yes or no? It was honestly like, I was so obsessed with it. I got featured in Martha weddings a couple of times from it. Like it was amazing. But now unfortunately people just don't super care about it. But you were doing this for other people.
Yeah. So I started managing Instagram accounts for other fine art photographers, for preset companies, styling mats, just people in the industry that knew of me. We actually ended up like maxing out our capacity like really quickly. I was managing 20 different Instagram accounts.
Whoa.
Oh my gosh.
How many phones
14 hours.
Is that 3 phones?
Yeah. Did you have to have multiple phones?
No, it was still all on the same phone, but like you just have to like
log
switch
out,
accounts.
Log in, yeah.
Well, not log out. Actually, the more accounts you have in their Instagram will just like save it all of there. So you think it like keeps you at 5. It like, no, I was logged into all 20 accounts.
Oh, because my friend Leslie has a social media account, but maybe it's different in Canada. And
that
it also
be
could be because she wants to always have them currently logged in at all times because she runs like comments and everything for them.
Yeah.
But she looks like a drug dealer because she has 3 phones. Well, like a really cute drug dealer because they all have little Disney cases on them.
Yeah. Little ears on
like
her phones.
little Mickey Mouse ears and stuff on them. But yeah, she has to have like multiple phones at all times, and it's so stressful traveling with her because she's like, "Where's this
the
restaurant phone? And where's the
Yeah.
Can we have somebody else manage this for us right now?" Okay, so that was your life for a while. You were managing over 20 people's socials.
And so I actually ended up starting a social media agency. So I brought on help to try to we had these like profiles on each one of this is before AI and ChatGPT and all of this. We did this manually. So we would go through each person's account and with a fine tooth comb and figure out like phrases that sound like if I was going to do Lindsay Coulter, I'd do sounds like Lindsay Coulter and would go through all of your content and pick out phrases that you say often that make you sound like you. We would figure out like what your favorite drink is.
That's so genius.
We would have all of these like
what are your
profiles.
Personality traits essentially.
Yeah. And then like who are your closest friends?
Smart.
Who do you talk to?
Right.
Like all of these like insane profiles on each customer and or each client that we were managing and doing that manually. And then all of our clients wanted reels. When TikTok came on to the space and all photographers realized that like, okay, reels is the way to grow.
Yeah.
We started making custom reels for all of our clients manually, and it would take so much time. I actually brought on a video editor who would like take these images and photos and like stitch this video. We would post it for one person once and then like never be able to use that content ever again.
Right.
And there was not like an easy workflow for this because people wanted the trending music that was available on Instagram, and all the other apps didn't like allow for that. And just out of sheer desperation, I was like, we need a different solution for this. And that's how Social Templates was born, which is what we do now is plug and play reels, real templates for photographers. But yeah, that's kind of
so
the journey.
Crazy. You know what? I've heard your story, like the earlier part, but I actually didn't know the social media agency to this part because my experience with meeting Angela was I got a really sweet email a year and a half ago now from an Angela Shea. Hi, have you heard of social templates? Like, here's what we do. And I'd love to collaborate with you in some way, I think is what you said. And I think you were already maybe working with Taylor. I'm not sure. And this was at a period of my life, I go through these often, where I just wasn't answering my emails. I was just literally, this is a triage situation.
Or a MASH unit. Yeah.
I respond to the things that are currently my current clients and potential wedding clients because I have to keep working.
What's on fire? What's bleeding?
That's but anything else, I was like, no, I'm absolutely not dealing with that. Yeah. And I think I maybe did respond to you like close to WPPI because I was like, shit, I'm going to meet this woman in person. And Taylor had actually worked with you and he said that you were like a dream to work with. And I was like, okay, cool. Because I do get a lot of random like, hey, we should collaborate. And then the second I respond, they're like, for free. And so this is so funny that this is my initial was like, I ghosted you terribly. And then I was like, oh, I should actually respond to you. We met at WPPI and I just became completely obsessed with you and social templates as a whole. And now, okay, we have to talk about social templates and like sort of get into like the nitty gritty of what it actually is because I feel like people aren't picturing it. But the first thing that I want to say is the saddest thing that happened to me last year was that right before WPPI, I had just hired a new assistant. So in December of the previous year, I had an assistant that had been working with me in person for a couple of years. And then in like December, the train fell off the tracks there. And I was like, okay, I need to hire a new VA that's only going to do socials because that seemed to be the priority of like what I really needed was just somebody to be reminding me to post, be telling me like, this is good content. We're going to make this, just somebody that was managing
on the ball,
managing the marketing portion, but specifically for Reels, because Reels were really like the obvious choice about a year ago. I mean, they still are, but that was when it was becoming very clear that if I posted anything, it was going to die if it wasn't a Reel.
Yeah.
And so I hire this VA. I go through the entire onboarding process. I go start using social templates in February. I meet you. And I'm like, shit, now I have just hired this assistant whose job is now completely irrelevant. So I kept her on for like the better part of last year. And she was literally using social templates to make my Reels. And I was like, you are getting paid so handsomely to do a thing that costs like $29 a month. So now, unfortunately, she no longer has a job, but I'm still posting Reels because it is so freaking easy. So, okay, we'll talk about it and then you correct us if we're wrong. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go for it.
So here's what I do. I go into socialtemplates.reels. So there's two accounts. If you're listening to this and you're like, hell yeah, I want to be a reel making machine, this is what you do.
So I have to correct you, or not correct you. It's not an app. I think this is like something we have to tell people.
Yes, we have to make it very clear.
Make that clear. It's not a separate app.
You go into Instagram itself. It's all built within Instagram. You do not have to have a standalone. It's not a third party. There's nothing external that you need at all, which is also a huge thing because when I had my assistant working for me, I had her on VN. I had her on, I think I had 3 different subscriptions just to make something that in the end would end up being worse and actually like performing worse than the Reels templates that you've made. So you have 2 different accounts. So socialtemplates.co is like the marketing one. Everybody should go and you should follow Angela on there because she provides like constant tips and suggestions. And that's like that's just an open and public account that you can go to where Angela's talking about Reels and the importance and marketing specifically for photographers. Also, I feel like we need to keep reiterating this. Like, there are tons of things that are great for Reels, but that aren't made for photographers. And that's annoying. So socialtemplates.co is like the marketing thing. Then you go to socialtemplates.reels and it is a private account that you get access to once you become a subscriber of the software, which also it's an unbelievably good deal. So you go to socialtemplates.reels and on the account page, it's just page after page after page of Reels that are made using trending audio and every single reel is beat matched. Yeah. So it's using trending audio, and you create 10 to 13 new reels every single week. You guys, I have this pitch down because I was just at WPPI and I literally told everybody about it. So you're hearing this and thinking, does Lindsay work there? And honestly, I don't. Sometimes. Sometimes I do. But I work there for free because I'm literally obsessed with it. So you go and you pick a thing and you're like, that's a nice audio that matches the boudoir session
and
I
the
just
description
did,
of
or
that,
the wedding or whatever.
Yeah, the description of the reel tells you how many images are in the reel, like 17 images and 1 BTS video to start. So it gives you the instructions of what's the recipe based on what you have. You need 17 images, and you need 1 BTS reel from your phone.
And just like it does, if you've ever used an Instagram reel template, like on a public account, like if you've ever used any template, you've found one by the grace of God and it seemed to suit what you needed, you could go in and you would see that it's like, okay, here's like at the bottom, the plug and play,
use template,
all of my content.
Yeah.
You just go into your camera roll, you pull the 1 BTS video that I hope to God you're making. And they don't have to be crazy good. You know what I mean? Like you can make them good, but they don't have to be. And if you forget, and this is honestly totally fine, do a selfie video of yourself holding your camera, shaking the freaking camera at the screen. It doesn't have to be rocket science, but it should start with your face.
One of my most popular ones is me with we have a neon sign similar to the shoot you shot in the studio, the other part of the studio, and it says, what do I do with my hands? And one of my favorite, I didn't have any BTS for like the film reel one I do.
Oh yeah.
Super. I'm like, I'll just film myself holding
in front
the camera,
of this,
panning down into the mirror. And then from there I cut into all the reels.
And then it goes into like a templated sort of slideshow type of reel, right? Which is simple and not rocket science, but does take an incredible amount of time if you were to be the one to make this beat matched thing on your own for every single reel that I guarantee you just won't do. Even when I hired a person, I didn't do it. So then you post it and then you just see it take off, which is incredible. And it literally, I can make reels now. I made 2, 3 this week, I think. I made 3 in one day. Because this is my other tip that I would suggest is because Angela puts out 10 to 13 a week, there's literally no way that you can keep up with the amount that is being posted on social templates. So just batch a few. Yeah. And I used to only make like 1 reel per wedding because that's all the capacity I had. And now I'm like, that's so crazy because like this week I did one that was just like a quick overview. And then I did one that's the flowers. And then I'm going to do one that's like, don't you wish that you looked like this on your wedding day for like, glam kind of things, like, you know what I mean? What you mean. It's not going to be the hook, I promise. So those are our thoughts on it. Angela, did we make any mistakes? And do you have any other thoughts on that?
That was wonderful recap of like what it is.
It was a really long pitch. I did try to tighten it up for my pitch at WPPI.
That's basically how it works. We also provide on-screen hooks. So I'm in my era of yelling at photographers from the top.
I'm enjoying it so much. You yelling at everybody?
I feel spicy about this, but
you should.
It's because photographers want engagement and they want views, and then they're not doing the things that they should be to do that. And sometimes I stalk all of our users for better or for worse, because I'm like, what are people putting out? How are their reels performing with our templates versus other things? And so what we've been seeing is like when someone sits there and creates a reel for 2 hours and they're making it by hand, you better believe they're adding some on-screen text and they're trying to bring context to this reel that they're making. And then when they go to use a social template, they're like, oh, okay, like I'm just going to grab one, throw my content in there, add 0 text and post it. And I'm like, no. The formula is the same. You got to still have an on-screen hook that's going to capture people's attention. You have to think about like where the reels are going to be viewed, in the reel space. If someone's just watching like a beat match slideshow, nobody's going to pause and save it or,
no,
unless you've got some like really epic content in there. So we also provide on-screen hooks for photographers to use in all different niches. We're like, if you're a branding photographer, say this. If you're, a wedding photographer, try this. And so every week we'll like add different prompts, and there's like literally hundreds of them saved in our highlights. So if you're ever needing extra inspiration, I'm like, go grab a hook, just anything that we have up there, and tie it into your marketing, because reels, in order to get the results that you want, the bookings and the leads, you want to use them as your marketing tool, right? Add content.
Yeah, like I think that becomes a struggle. That's why I had a hard time when I outsourced it, because I was like, okay, you've made like a pretty thing, but is this going to actually relate to any bookings? And because the VA that I hired was not anywhere near the wedding space and not in my business and didn't understand my priorities, she would make really beautiful looking reels, but then they would not result in anybody actually booking me. Yeah. And so in using these like on-screen hooks, you can do something. And you actually gave me a really great idea, because I'm doing my spring Easter mini sessions coming up in a couple of weeks. And I had posted like a little teaser of like the setup that I'm going to use. And you sent me a really great reel. And it's like, okay, these reels can then just be marketing tools for you to get bookings. So it's like a nice, spring audio. And then the on-screen hook can be when it finally turns to spring, and, then the caption can be the spring details of the spring shoot, right? Like use it in a marketing tool kind of way. So my feeling is, and this is sort of what I do for myself and what I teach people in my course, is like your social content should be a few different things. It should be like a who you are and personality type of stuff. Mm-hmm. So it can be home-based, here I am at home with my family, my dog, whatever. And then what you do, right? So showing BTS of what you've shot and what you're hoping to shoot more of. And then also, and these can be like in the first two as well, and what you are trying to sell and what you're offering, right? And that's the thing that photographers often flop at. They show their personal life. They show what they shoot. Like here's me at a BTS shoot. There's no one saying, and also you can hire me.
And please hire me.
And also please hire me.
Yeah.
And also please pay me. You can also have me
do you like this lifestyle I've created? Please help support it.
And you know what's also crazy? I find that the bigger photographers get, so because these reels are going to start doing really well for people will forget that they can actually hire that person, because they think you're now a content creator. You're like a social
you're set, baby.
Person.
Done.
And it's like, no. I don't care if there's 10,000 views or 20,000 views or more or whatever. You still hired this person. That's actually how I keep making content like this. So I think when you keep those like that strategy in mind and you combine it with the reels, then you figure out what kind of content you actually want to be putting out, right? And what the hook or what your captions might be with those sort of strategies in mind.
Absolutely. And I think creating different types of content is super important. You want to show your personality. You want to show the type of your work you do. And then also, convert people. I think the other thing, the two categories that I try to explain to photographers as well is like, if you're making a reel that's like a recap of a session, or, you're making it for your client in hopes that they reshare it and that their people see it, like, you specifically create it for that, and you invite them as a collaborator to the post, and you make it with the client in mind. Mm-hmm. And then using even the same images, potentially, you can repackage that reel into something like different,
more
maybe different audio,
focused.
Whatever, but more marketing focused. Now you can make it savable and shareable and something else that's going to get people to pause and read your content and go over to your page and like follow the rest of your work. So I think a lot of photographers get stuck in only like, oh, I'm creating this for my client. I'm sharing my client's photos. I want my client to be happy with this reel. But you also have to like think about it like, okay, well, Instagram is now your marketing platform. You can create content for your clients, but also like, don't be afraid to share the same photos multiple times, or photos from the same event, or even like if you have an epic wedding or a shoot that you want to shoot more content like that, share it every 2 months. Like nobody
this is
remembers
the thing that I'm
what you
terrible
posted.
at, because I'm like, oh, I've seen those.
One and done.
And also, think about this from the time that you plan this wedding out, you're already picturing it. Then you show up, you shoot the thing, you spend 12 hours looking at those flowers, that dress, whatever. Then you spend the time backing it up. Then you spend the time culling it. Your eyes have seen that content so many times.
Yes.
So by the time I go to share it, sometimes I'm like, well, people have seen it.
No, they haven't.
Literally, no one's seen
8
it
seconds
but
of it.
me.
You've seen it for 25
Even my
hours.
clients haven't seen it as much as I have.
Yeah.
But I think that I get into the trap, and I'm sure other people do,
for sure,
of thinking, we must be sick of this by now, right? Yeah. And then somebody's like, wow, these are beautiful. I'm
Can
like,
I see more?
I've shared this 6 times. How have you not seen it one of the other 5 times? But they don't, right? Like I have 30,000 followers. My average like good views that I get on Reels is anywhere from 8 to 15, 20,000 views. It's still not every person that follows me.
Yeah.
So if I share that same reel a couple of times on my stories, I'm completely unbothered because maybe some people are seeing it a couple of times, but maybe they're not. And then if I take that content and I repurpose it into new audio a couple of weeks later, it might be seen by a completely different audience just based on the hook and the caption now.
Exactly.
So that is something I can remember also.
Good food for thought.
Can you tell us, you were telling me at WPPI some sort of new things that are coming out in the realm of SEO and
I was literally just
media.
thinking that.
Okay.
This is the tips portion. Let's get into it.
I've loved this. It's been great for like my marketing side of it, but I'm really excited for photographers to utilize it more too. So Instagram is now competing with TikTok. Well, it's always been competing with TikTok, but also Google, and they're trying to become like as searchable as possible. You used to be able to search by like hashtags. It just wasn't like great, but all of their attention right now is focused on improving the SEO feature, which is insane. Actually, one of my users just let me know that she had someone find her on Google from a reel that she made with social templates.
Oh my
that
gosh.
had Santa Barbara wedding photographer
Wow.
in the caption, and they booked her for a Santa Barbara wedding just from like Googling Santa Barbara wedding photographer.
Wow.
And this reel came up. So not only are people being able to search on Instagram and find you, but it's now also coming up in like Google searches.
I noticed that because I was Googling another, I don't think I was even Googling a photographer. I think I was Googling a venue, and a photographer's reel came up. Oh, no, you know what it was? I was at a wedding. I got a new flash. I was trying to figure out how to turn the beeping off on this brand new Godox flash. It was driving me absolutely bonkers.
You don't keep the beeping on?
You want a quick beep every time your flash focuses?
No, I turn it off. It's the most annoying thing.
It
I don't know why
was so
things beep.
painful.
Yeah.
And it's a new Godox flash. I could not turn this thing off. I didn't want to watch like somebody's 30-minute YouTube video. Sorry, Taylor. I'm pretty sure that he made one and I didn't see it.
You did. It's fine.
And I quickly Googled how to look it up. There was no really obvious thing. And there was one girl's TikTok. It was 30 seconds long. And I was like, I can do that. It was like during dinner at this wedding. And I was shocked that this girl's TikTok was coming up. Actually, it was a reel, came up ahead of all of like actual
articles,
Godox marketing tools.
Yeah.
Like, and it was something so specific. And it did have me thinking, oh shit, I could make something really specific for so many
Absolutely,
wedding
you
things.
could. Yeah.
Like so many wedding things. Like every
Or a
wedding
venue,
venue.
especially.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
There you go.
Venue and ideas. Yep.
So how
what
is it
Instagram-
working? It's showing up like so we
so-
don't have to do hashtags anymore. We have to do this on screen. It's captions.
Where's it pulling the metadata from? The words from the hook itself, the text on screen?
So Instagram will analyze your entire reel
Okay.
with its AI features, and it will attach SEO keywords for you. So you actually don't even have like, you have to be very strategic in like what you're showing, because it will analyze, and based on like what it thinks you're trying to say, that's the keywords that it'll attach to it.
Okay.
And it's everything from your on-screen hook to your caption to the actual images. It is so smart now. It will analyze the actual images. So we just tried this with Stacy
Brooks?
I think her last name's Brooks. Yep. Last week, where she posted a reel with no on-screen hook. It was just bridal photos, and it was this beautiful bride with like dress details, and it was beat matched, and it was fun, but there was no on-screen hook, and the caption wasn't very like long, but the SEO that Instagram pulled for it was bridal dress inspiration, because it was literally just featuring the bride and different like details of the dress. And so it, from just not even having any context, just the photos itself. So when you add text on there, that's when you can really guide it to the specific SEO keywords. You can still add hashtags. I would still probably add some location specific hashtags.
Right.
But I would focus more on what your caption itself says, like as far as like where you're based, what venue maybe you're working at, what type of clients you're trying to work with. Obviously, don't sound like a robot when you're saying these things.
Make a complete sentence. Don't just throw a bunch of words at it. Yeah.
Honestly, I've seen a lot of people doing that just with like commas in between. And I'm like, okay, you heard something somewhere that somebody told you to do this, and you're just making your captions just words now. It's just words.
Well, Instagram
no
will
thought.
also flag that though.
Right.
Like if it's spammy like that, it will get flagged.
Yeah.
So they still are really focusing on like community driven content and things like that. So you still want it to, feel human.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I'm going to tell you guys probably don't know is it's also now throwing its like little SEO roots into the comments. So your comments, the way that you respond matters. So if someone says, love this photo, you have to respond in a way, again, with Jeff Chang and I were laughing at this because
it does feel like a little bit like robotic. Like, thank you. Her dress was a beautiful gown.
Don't you love all of the details and the flowers? Yeah.
Well, maybe you could at least make it more human by saying like, thanks, I loved shooting at this venue, right? Like I loved shooting, or this venue name is magical. Yes. Can't wait to shoot there again. So like still making it not robotic, but your comments now matter so much. So if you're giving advice on like your wedding timeline, right, in the caption, you're talking about the timeline and somebody like responds to your comment, and just continuing that conversation, because now you want your reel to get discovered for how to plan your wedding timeline for photos, and just like sprinkling in that content because it is so advanced now. It like blew my mind, but also the competition with like, TikTokifying, Instagram, because TikTok had those SEO features first, and like wanting to compete with Google and become like highly ranked on Google. This is so good for us as like small creators, photographers, and honestly
making me really feel a little bit better about myself that I never committed to TikTok, because I'm like, finally Reels is coming up for the rescue, because I was like, I don't want to do TikTok. It's just I'm sure I should. I'm sure that I should. Actually, question, how do you feel about people taking their reels, downloading them, and putting them on TikTok? Do you find that they do okay? Are they performing somewhat? Should people bother or no?
I think you can generate some traffic, but it's not going to be probably anything that's like groundbreaking, because just the way that content is consumed on TikTok is very different. It's different type of content.
Very much so.
You can, what I've done before is I have a Chrome browser extension, and this is a tip for anyone listening in. So if you want to repost, also like, I'm like afraid to get into any legal trouble. So take it. Like,
so are we.
Okay, so Angela is about to drop something really illegal. Everybody pay attention.
It's going to strip the transcript of this episode.
Yeah,
for sure.
I hope so.
Knocking your door. No,
you have a Chrome browser extension, so you can download it without their logo on it. Is that what you're about to say? You can all say it.
Without the logo and you get the music in there as well.
Right. Because when you download it from Instagram, it does strip the rights off of the music, or it strips all the music because you don't have rights to share it off of it.
Right.
If you save it to Instagram, just from Instagram to your phone, the music won't be saved. Yeah. If you save it once it's posted, the Instagram logo will be on it. But if you add a Chrome extension to your browser, the one I use is called Turbo Instagram Downloader. So you literally just like go into your Chrome extension and you search for Instagram Downloader, and it's the top one that will come up. And you can literally download all of your reels and repost them all to TikTok.
Amazing. And then TikTok will automatically assign, it knows what the song is, and it will automatically assign it usually. Yeah. That's what my experience has been when I have made something.
Same with Instagram. It does the same if you add a song.
They'll be like, hi, we think this is so-and-so's. Yeah, it is. So then it won't get removed. Like it's still assigning the rights to the, musicians or whatever. But that's a good, what's the name of it again? The
Turbo Instagram Downloader.
Okay, amazing. We'll find it. We'll pop it into the comments of the YouTube. This is like getting into torrent territory. It's not. You're downloading literally your own content.
It's fine. Yeah.
I love that. Okay. Any other quick Instagram tips for us? Otherwise, I want you to tell everybody about the time that you edited a wedding in Visco.
Oh my gosh. Come on. Okay, so another quick tip is just keeping in mind watch time. So watch time is the most important metric. I think a lot of people don't understand that. Photographers want to make this slideshow of 50 photos because they are excited about this wedding. If nobody's going to watch it all the way to the end, you're actually hurting yourself.
Interesting.
So the watch time is the percentage of the reel that gets watched.
Okay.
So this is why within social templates, we actually create reels that are specifically optimized for the best watch time, which it means that they're like pretty short. They're like 7 to 8 seconds long.
Yeah.
You'll never see anything more than 15 seconds long on the social templates, because we are very aware of the watch time. And when someone watches it all the way to the end and restarts watching the same reel, that's what will signal to the algorithm that, okay, people are interested. They're watching it to the end. They're rewatching it, which is why you see people have like really long captions. They're like, go read my caption. While the reel,
looping.
Yeah.
Yep. And so something to keep in mind when you are creating your reel and you have like a catchy on-screen hook that gets people to pause, and maybe you have some advice about like where to find bridesmaid dresses, or, you know, whatever it is, how to plan your family session so your husband's not mad. I don't know, whatever it is.
Yes. I need that one. Not for my husband, but for my clients' husbands. Yeah.
The watch time is the most important metric. That's what signals to the algorithm to show it to more people. So something to keep in mind. And then the second ones are the saves and the shares, right? Is anyone going to send your reel to someone else?
Right.
Or are they going to bookmark it and come back to it later? So those are the 3 things to keep in mind. If you are mad about your analytics, go back and be like, okay, is this savable? Is this shareable? And are people watching it to the end?
Savable and shareable is a huge one, because that clearly shows that you're not just making content for the sake of putting out content, right? Like, no one wants to read a brochure that's been handed on to them on the street. It's not a thing. And that's what it feels like when somebody is just like, now here is a slideshow of a bunch of photos I've taken. You're like, cool, that's awesome. Thank you so much.
Why do I care?
Right? And how is it that I watch, wedding videos and wedding photos from somebody that's in a completely different area to me that has no relevance to me in my life? Well, it's because they also shared something in it that was funny or
relatable
or interesting, and I didn't know that, and maybe my clients will like that, and then I end up resharing that to my stories along with any other number of people that also might share it to their stories, right? And it can be harder, I think, on like a geographically small scale to try to get something that's shareable, but savable is an easy one, right? So you're like, you're getting married at the Cambridge Mill. Save these tips, or here's what I recommend for your schedule there, or here's what I recommend for the best photo locations around this venue, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Even if they're not your client, they might be saving that, and maybe they're just not your client yet, but they might be.
They will be.
Coming down the line.
They absolutely will be. It's a guarantee from Lindsay
and I. If you can make something like just helpful, just really, it's a guarantee. Yeah, actually.
We're guaranteeing it.
Unless they're my client, in which case
they will not
be. We just got so scary. Okay, I did tease the people with the story of you editing an entire wedding on an app. And before we go, can you please just share that story? Because I, first of all, haven't heard the entire thing. And second of all, am dying at the thought of it. So please tell us all about this story.
Okay, so it wasn't a wedding. It was an engagement session.
Okay.
A whole session. Okay, thank God. I was so worried about you. Yeah. I was like, you're still editing it. 15 years later.
15 years. Yeah.
It was definitely over, like close to 300 images though.
Wow, dude.
Oh my gosh.
This is after I stopped shooting professionally. I had, a client that like came back and was like, we really want you to shoot like a session for us. I think it was their anniversary session. And I love Visco, the app on my phone. I have edited everything for the last 15 years with the same preset, which is A6 at 7% or 7 strength.
Nice. Love that.
And I was also in the middle of like, okay, like my presets feel outdated. I was shooting with a camera, I think the a Canon Mark IV that came out. So the color profiles changed. And I remember sitting at my desk and like trying to get the colors to look good on screen and airdropping it to my phone and being like, well, my clients are going to obviously experience these on their phone. And like, I don't like how the colors are looking flat and all the things. And I was like, well, you know what's never let me down? Visco
A6 at 7 out of 10.
7 strength. Yeah.
And so I literally airdropped, okay, this is going to sound so bad, but like I airdropped all like 300 images to my phone, uploaded them at like 50 at a time to Visco.
Oh, edited. Your phone was probably crashing every other photo that you're editing.
Phone on the planet.
I mean, I've got a lot of memory, so it worked out.
So funny.
I sat there editing the entire session on my phone, in the app, and saving them, and then exported them all, uploaded them to a cute Picktime Gallery, sent it to them. They never knew. They never knew that this was. They loved it. I was happy with the colors. They were happy with the colors. They liked the session, and yeah, that was my secret until Lindsay
exposed
it out of you. Yeah. I think it was because WPPI. One of the questions that we asked people was, "Would you rather shoot on whatever or have to edit an entire wedding on a phone app?" Yeah. And you were like, "Oh, I've done that.
Been there."
And I was like, "Oh, that was a question to like cause like
that was a chaotic question,
like terror in the questioner." And you're like, "Oh, that doesn't faze me at all. He literally did that." I was like, "Oh, okay,
cool."
That's incredible. I absolutely love that. Angela, any other thoughts? Anything you want to share with everybody? Any other wisdom you feel like imparting?
What are you excited about, Angela?
I'm excited to see the new Instagram edits app that's coming out, just to see like how that's going to be. And for those that don't know, Instagram is releasing like a new video editing app.
Similar to CapCut kind of thing?
Yep, in competition. They literally
because when TikTok went
day
away, they were like, "Oh," because CapCut and TikTok both got banned, right, in the same day in America. It didn't happen to us. We still have it. So if you need anything edited in CapCut, we can just do it for you. But just kidding.
Yeah. Can I send you 300?
Please. Yeah.
No, actually, you can't. I have to go.
So new video editing app for Instagram.
So yeah, they announced it like the day CapCut was down, which was such a interesting move. I was like,
sneaky.
This is very sneaky.
They also released
threads the day X died. Like they are as petty as we are, which I love. They're petty but billionaires.
Yes.
You know, like they're
better than a petty billionaire.
They are the level of petty I aspire to be. Yeah.
Well, and it looks like they like threw it all together just like that weekend. They're literally, oh shoot, CapCut's down. Let's like throw this in the
build
Apple
a pyramid.
Store.
We have human life to throw at it. Yeah, absolutely.
They were teasing that it was going to be live end of February. It is now the last day of March. It's still not live.
Wow.
It's not even in beta yet.
Okay.
So I'm like curious. They keep teasing it. They're saying that we're going to be able to create drafts and share with friends.
Okay.
So it's a video edit.
Could be very good for you.
I'm thinking that we're going to have a lot more editing capabilities and a lot of things that we could do for our users.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which could be cool for people that do want to make. I was just thinking about this while you were saying the longer ones, because the only time that I ever need a longer one is when I want to do a voiceover and I'm like walking people through more parts of the day, which hopefully they'll actually watch that because I'm literally talking to them. But what I have done is I just make a video and then I add it to one of my social templates. Like, so I'll do like one of your reels and then I'll do a separate voiceover on it. But it'd be sweet if they make something that you can make a little bit more customizable, that you could say, hey, I've sent you this draft. Then your users can
prompts
go
of what to say in this section. Yeah, that'd be incredible.
People can go and add in their own things. But I'm sure there's a lot of exciting things. It also must be terrifying creating a business on such an incredibly unreliable platform.
The amount of Instagram bugs we have to deal with is definitely uncanny.
And people coming to you being like, hey, this isn't working. And you're like, it's actually not me. But also, I've made an
instructional reel. Go watch that dummy. I'm also guilty of that, Angela. I did that to you. I'm like, why is this working? Like, I just made a reel, dude. Go look at it. I'm like,
but know, and
it's all
good
there.
To know,
yeah, no, it's all readily available on the app. So it's super helpful for people to go and like learn how to optimize it and do it really well, because you are working within an ecosystem you don't own, which is amazing, and you're still thriving. So we're super impressed by you.
Thank you so much. The DMs are funny though. They're like, you need to fix this. You need to fix Instagram. I'm paying for your service.
Okay.
Fix Instagram.
You're like, fix this. You're like, so
I don't have.
I fear that you have not understood what I do here.
Well, no, it's the other way around. It's like, well, thank you that you think I am Instagram.
This powerful.
Love that for me.
Yes,
but
that is so funny. Okay, so everybody's listened to us yap about this, and then they're thinking to themselves, I would love to go and join Social Templates. What do you recommend? Where do they go?
Socialtemplates.co online / what's your URL?
It's just Lindsay.
Just Lindsay.
Yeah. So / Lindsay, LINDSAY. And I think that gives them their first month free. Am I correct? Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Using, I think, your code.
Yes. So use the code, Lindsay.
Or you can use Tim's code. That's cool too.
Oh, Tim, you have a code too.
We
wow,
can fight it out. We'll see who wins.
Oh,
Tim got a code.
You're more likable. Tim, what's your code, Timothy?
I think it's just. I'm gonna write it in the description of this episode. I'll give you the leg up.
Suckers.
I think it's Tim.
I think it's just Tim.
I was like,
his is actually Tom. So just go
into... It actually is Lindsay. It's just Lindsay.
Tim's is actually also
with capital
Lindsay.
L.
Lints. So that will give you 1 month free. Basically what I said to everybody that's ever signed up for it is do the 1 month free. You'll literally never cancel it. So don't sign up if you think that you need to not cancel it, because you won't. Unfortunately, you will always sign up for this forever. And not because it's one of those forever subscriptions you sign up for and forget about. It's because you will literally use this more than any other application or any other thing that you use. Like it's the thing.
Well, and I'll be there yelling at you every week to post something.
Well, and honestly, that is the other thing. Like, you're constantly posting on socialtemplates.reels. So it is always popping up in my feed being like, oh yes, I do have a thing to post, and I shall post it right now.
And like Angela said, she likes to creep on her subscribers. So people who are joined with the app, she will definitely be watching you.
You get
in a supportive way,
eyes
in a motherly
on your
way.
reel, and somebody is like, "I'm watching you." You're like, "I know, I should have done an on-screen hook." That's so smart.
I'm so sorry, Angela. We loved having you here. Thank you so much for joining us on the episode. We'd love to have you back.
Yeah, we need to talk even more because like there's so much we haven't even gotten into. You shot a wedding on a collapsed lung. You're homeschooling 2 boys and running this business. Like, there's so many things. So we'll have to do another episode at some point in the next few months and bring you on and see where maybe the Instagram video editing thing will be out by
amazing.
then.
Yeah.
You guys are so kind. Thank you so much for having me. And also, how awkward I had to choose between the 2 codes. I love you both.
No, don't worry about it. That's not on you. We'll make the fight personal between the 2 of us.
Tim and I are constantly fighting, so don't worry. But I do appreciate that you said Lindsay first, and I'll never forget it.
Thank you, Angela.
Oh no. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Angela. This was awesome. See you guys all next Monday.